Hello and welcome to this brand new series on the Aviators South Africa, Aviation History. My name is Kabir and I'm the host on the show with Warwick. Today on the show we'll be talking about the history of the flag carrier of the United Kingdom, British Airways.
We hope that you are going to enjoy this new venture with us. Remember to give us some feedback in the comment section and please give us a like and make sure to subscribe. Also turn on notifications so you don't miss our upcoming videos. Enjoy the episode.
This episode is in association with African Pilot magazine. Subscribe to Africa's finest aviation magazine today. For more information, go to www.africanpilot.co.za. Producing this content takes a lot of time and effort. Therefore, why don't you become a member of our channel through Buy Me a Coffee or on our website? This will assist us financially and allow us to continue providing quality aviation content to South Africa and beyond. As a member of our channel, you will receive members-only aviation tech content reviews, get early YouTube videos and podcasts, and even get featured on our podcast and YouTube episodes. To do this, click on the links in the description. There's a Buy Me a Coffee link and there's a link in our website. If you click on the link to our website, you will get a 10-day free trial and then you can decide whether you'd like to continue. Alternatively, just buy us a coffee on the link below. $5 a coffee. Thank you for supporting us. Enjoy the episode. Over 100 years ago, the world's first passenger flight departed London for France. The flight would only cost $9, taking inflation into account. Back then, it would be worth more than $450.
A while later, a few airlines merged with Demalia International, forming Imperial Airlines. They went on to form major long-distance routes to Cape Town in South Africa and Brisbane in Australia.
16 years after the initial merger of Imperial Airways merged once again with an airline known as British Airways Limited. The new airline was known as British Overseas Airways Corporation, or BOAC. This was the first time that the current British Airways trademark, Speedbird, came into play.
BOAC was one of the first airlines to use jet-powered aircraft. The de Havilland Comet was the main aircraft at the time. The airline flew the Comet on the first transatlantic jet flight 6 years after the introduction of the Comet into its fleet. The airline would later revolutionize the transatlantic route, utilizing the Boeing 747 and for a much shorter period of time the Concorde.
In 1972, BOAC was involved in yet another merger, this time with British European Airways, BEA. This was when the brand shifted to the modern British Airways, which we know and love. There have been several different marketing strategies used from the airline, from the world's favorite airline until the to fly to serve. These were new and innovative at the time.
Just 4 years after the merger, British Airways made history with the supersonic Concorde aircraft, since BA was the first airline to fly a supersonic passenger aircraft and the last to retire the Concorde. In February 1996, British Airways decided to partner up with other airlines to form the One World Alliance. The partner airlines were American Airlines, Cathay Pacific and Qantas.
In 2011, British Airways merged with Iberia, the flag carrier of Spain. This ended up creating the International Airlines Group, IAG. IAG now includes Vueling, Aer Lingus, British Airways, Iberia, and IAG Cargo, and has established its own low-cost carrier, Level. British Airways and Iberia are also in agreement with American Airlines to coordinate the transatlantic routes, as well as several others, such as Japan Airlines and Finnair.
Today, British Airways has many competitors in its market. The airline has to revise its service operating to keep up to standard. Recently, British Airways launched its new Club World product on its A350-1000 aircraft. British Airways celebrated its centenary last year in 2019.
At the moment, British Airways is replacing its fleet with more modern and economical aircraft, such as the brand new Airbus A350-1000, Boeing 787-10s, and the upcoming soon-to-be-delivered 777X. Sadly, as of July 2020, British Airways announced the immediate retirement of their 747 fleet. It was initially meant to be retired in 2024, but due to the current COVID-19 crisis, the airline had to speed it up. You're listening to Aviators South Africa. So we are now going to have a discussion about British Airways. So in 1996, Comair franchise. So this is very interesting. So everybody knows South Africa's Comair, or at least some of our viewers do know, because we are the Aviators South Africa. Comair is currently struggling, but in 1996, British Airways arranged a franchise agreement with Comair. And what this enabled them to do was it enabled Comair to use the British Airways logo, brand identity, livery, uniform, etc. under the British Airways name. So passengers could book flights from BA, in South Africa. And this brought a whole new market to British Airways because, as we know, even present day, 2020, maybe not 2020, 2019, I think, a lot of UK tourists would fly with British Airways from London to Johannesburg or London Durban or London Cape Town, and then travel within the country with Comair, or in some circumstances to Botswana or Namibia, etc. So Comair was just their own airline under the Comair brand, and then the franchise agreement pulled through in 1996, and this boosted Comair and it boosted British Airways and British tourism in general. But currently Comair is dealing with some severe financial issues and is currently in voluntary business rescue. So we hope to see the British Airways flights back in the sky soon. One more thing about Comair is they brought back BA's Executive Club program, enabling South Africans to earn points through Comair and then use those points with other One World airlines. So Warwick?
Well, I'd like to talk a bit about their situation right now with regard to COVID-19 and their service and how they've been managing. And the first thing I want to say is that they did react well and they shut down a lot of their flights they've been using for their aircraft for cargo, their brand new A350s. In fact, talking about the A350s, I remember right at the beginning of the South African lockdown, they had a A350 collision. And so that was out of service originally, but they've been using their A350s. Quite a few episodes ago, we covered how they've been like catering for passengers, and essentially we were looking at the different packages which they're using, and essentially they were providing packages of food instead of onboard service. They would just provide everybody with a food box with a bottle of water. As if say it was breakfast, then it may have been a sandwich or whatever, and people were just getting their food in a box, and it was very neat, and we were saying how nicely they'd done that. And also regards to the lockdown and their COVID-19 situation, we are very sad that, as Kabir mentioned, that they've lost their 747s. They've had to retire them involuntarily, and not involuntarily, but they had to make the hard call to retire them, which was 4 years earlier than they expected. Kabir?
Yes, so on the 747s, it is very sad and it is very sudden. Like Warwick said, 4 years prior to the initial retirement. But what's also interesting just on the 747 is Qantas, who also had to retire them just off the blue, made a big series of joy flights, and they made a big deal about the retirement. Whereas we've noticed that British Airways have actually done nothing to really recognize this amazing icon and have kind of just swiftly taken it away. So that's a very interesting change of strategy there. But 2020, the airline is having serious financial issues. So we spoke about Lakmé having financial issues and now British Airways. And British Airways is part of IAG, International Airlines Group, and they are struggling. British Airways approached the UK government to ask for funding. Now, although they are not although they are not actually a state airline, they used to be, but now they're part of IAG. They are a privatized airline. We did cover a whole episode about privatized and state-owned airlines. It will be in the description below or in the cards up above. But essentially, they approached the UK government because they are a flag carrier. That's also what we spoke about in that video. But the flag carrier means they fly the UK flag. So they are the flag carrier of the United Kingdom, like South African Airways is for South Africa, except South African Airways is funded by the government, whereas BA is not. So they approached the UK government for funding, and it really just depends. They're struggling still, even with some extra funding. And it's very hard to see. So Warwick, what will you miss about the Queen of the Skies the most?
Well, I guess it was it was definitely my favorite aircraft, and just because it held that feeling of, excitement, and it's been around for so long, it served so many passengers, it's been a changing aircraft, it was one of a kind. It was the first aircraft which could carry that many passengers, and it could carry cargo as well, and originally it was designed to carry the space shuttle, or that was one of the reasons they designed it. And it's just, I'm going to miss it so much, and especially because British Airways was the largest operator of the 747, or at least the 747-400. They don't have any 747-8s, and they haven't got any orders for them, which makes sense since they've retired all of their 747-400s. And I think it's just it's sad because, Lufthansa, they've got the 747-400 and 800 and -8, and it's just they're operating the -8, and that's the one airline which is probably most well known for operating the -8. And then there's Qantas, which was also known for the 747-400, KLM, which used the 747-400 freighters quite a lot. They have quite a few. I saw one flying over the other day for the first time in a while, and I think it's just going to be sad not to see it, and especially because there used to be so many flying into South Africa. Around December and during the holidays and everything, they would operate around about 3 747s into South Africa, 2 into Cape Town, and then 1 into Johannesburg, with 2 A380s. Kabia?
Yes. It is definitely very sad to see the 747 go. My nostalgic British Airways moment was Concorde. Concorde was just an amazing plane, and although I never got to see it in operation, I have been able to see it in a couple of museums and such, and I don't know I don't know if the hype lived up, really, small seats, etc., but Concorde was, it's the end of an era. It was the end of an era when BA retired Concorde, and it's the end of an era now when BA are retiring the 747. And it's such a sad thing to see the retirement of and quick demise of the beautiful Queen of the Skies. Is the A380 next? That is the question. But British Airways is just, I think it's so interesting to see. And it's really interesting how this airline has grown, and how this airline has had their bad times and their good times. But Warwick?
It's funny that you mentioned the A380, because I've seen quite a few comments on videos and a whole lot of revenge towards British Airways for retiring their 747s instead of retiring their A380s. And they're still 4 quad-engine airliners, and they're both not very economical. However, the 747 has dual capability. It can be used for cargo, it can be used for, it can be used for passengers, it can be used for a bit of a mix. So it's just very sad that they retired it. And I think a lot of people are saying, why didn't they retire the A380? But they must have looked into it, because I'm pretty sure that they would have much rather retired the A380, because it's not one of their, flagship aircraft. It's not one of their aircraft which is seen all over the world, and they haven't got as many of them. Kabir?
Yes, but although we're not actually going to get into that debate now, I admit that it's a very interesting debate. And please, in the comment section, please do not start a war between the 747 and A380 fans. They're both amazing aircraft, but the truth is, the A380 is more modern. It has more technology. The cabins on the A380 are updated. So from a cost purpose, maybe, the 747, they would probably, if they had kept them, maybe they would have had to upgrade the cabins, etc. Whereas the A380s are in better shape in that form. But we are not taking any sides here, and it's been a very interesting discussion. It's been amazing to see this airline grow and come from the world's favorite airline until the to fly to serve. And what you would have heard in the beginning, actually, in the very beginning, is our intro, the Aviators. And this intro was by Helen Jane Long, and this started it all for us, but we're not going to be talking about that. But the truth is, this song was used in a British Airways brand advert in 2012. And it showed the history of the airline, and you'll be seeing this advert up on screen now. But it showed the history of the airline from, the small aircraft chartering between London and France and, growing from the Concorde to the Boeing 747 to Comair to this to that. It's just amazing to see the growth of the UK's airline. The world's favorite airline, British Airways.
This is an extension of the Aviator South Africa podcast. Find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor and more. Look in the description for the links. Also, please like and subscribe. Happy flying!
Thank you very much for tuning into this aviation history episode featuring British Airways. The music was done by Thomas Dewar, and the intro song is initially done by Helen Jane Long called The Aviators. And so Thomas did a remix of that for us. So thank you, Helen and Thomas. The music you would have heard when we were explaining the British Airways history is from the Flower Duet theme, but it has been reimagined to reflect British Airways history on their centenary year. This was in 2019. It was made by Lyndon Uy, whose day job involves checking British Airways planes are ready to fly. So he's an aircraft engineer for the airline, but he also plays violin, and he composed this for the airline centenary. So that music is from British Airways. We hope you've enjoyed the episode and learned something new. If you did, give us a thumbs up. Remember to like and enable notifications when you subscribe so that you'll get notified when we release a new video. Finally, visit our website if you'd like to see more episodes. The link's in the description below. Also, visit the SA Coronavirus website at sacoronavirus.co.za to find out more with the latest statistics, etc. Stay home and stay safe. Happy flying!